Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Mr. Reality, and I'm joined with psychic medium Liz Cross. Liz, how are you doing today?
Oh, great. Ready for Creep Factor Mary Shelley show.
Yeah, so this is a big story. Mary Shelley, back in the 1800s, wrote a book called Frankenstein, and it was pretty popular. So I wondered if we could bring in Mary Shelley and she could tell us about her life and the story of what inspired her to do so.
Wow. I've never channeled her before, but I have her here. The first thing that comes across is she's extremely neurotic.
Okay. What's keeping her? What's she neurotic about? Where is she?
She
She
has a
disappeared.
very nervous disposition. Have you always been like that when you were here as Mary Shelley? Always. Always really nervous around certain people. Are you nervous to talk to us today? Extremely.
Really?
Okay.
Well, I'm pretty
Yeah.
calm. Psychic Liz Cross is pretty calm. It's just these little people out there listening, and you're not little people, you're wonderful people. And thank you all for being subscribers to Liz Cross, by the way. Um, what's she up to nowadays? Is she incarnated now? Or is she working in the afterplane, the afterlife?
Are you incarnated on the earth plane at the moment? She was, but do you just left? She just left.
When?
When did you leave? Last year.
Oh, well, we're sorry to hear that, but we're glad you're back with us.
Yeah. Did you enjoy that life? No. It was horrible. Why? Why? She wasn't artistic in that lifetime. Uh, she had no way to express her emotions, her thoughts. Um, she had no emotional outlet whatsoever. And what else can you tell us about it? Did you have children? Yes, she had four children. Are they still on the earth plane? Yes, they are.
What
Yes, they
number
are.
lifetime was that for her
What number lifetime
as
was
a
that
human?
for you as a human? Ooh, it's relatively low. It's only around the 200s, surprisingly so.
That's about standard, isn't it? A few hundred. Can she tell us about her life as Mary Shelley?
She loved her life as Mary Shelley. It was one of her most favorite lifetimes.
Why was it her favorite lifetime? I mean, that's a lot. Among 300, your favorite lifetime, that's saying quite a bit.
Why was it one of your favorite? Because she didn't have to worry about survival. She really didn't. It was easy for her. It was easy for her to be creative. A lot of her lifetimes are very artistic, but she's denied that creativity because of sheer survival, right? The two don't seem to commingle. You either have to work to survive or you are able to completely immerse yourself in art or in theater or entertainment or writing. She loves languages as well, and a lot of her lifetime she really thinks that language is very rich. But that was one of the easiest lifetimes where she could just be an artist, a writer.
She was very prolific in her artwork. If we could take her back to the night of, it was some night in June, and she was here at the villa. How was she inspired to write Frankenstein? And did she truly write it? Or did Percy and the other fellow help her along with it?
Did they help you with it? No, the idea was hers, and did they help you write it? No, she wrote it.
He helped edit it, but what was the conversation that stirred these ideas, and what was the origin point of this conversation that made her think about this?
Why did you? What was it about Frankenstein? Where did you come up with this idea? Oh, she's always been fascinated with scary stories, horror, things that go bump in the night, she says. And she wanted to get people on the edge. She likes giving people goosebumps when you have something that after you've listened to it, a story or you've read a story that you makes you think like what is lurking in the dark. She loves that. She actually gets quite a thrill from that.
Why was this something they decided to publish anonymously originally instead of her taking credit for it?
Why was this something that wanted to be published anonymously? So it wouldn't disclose that she was female.
What would that have done?
Made it extremely unpopular, ridiculed, condemned, banned, burned.
Is that who told her that would happen?
That's what they did at the time. Women weren't supposed to be writers, they were supposed to be caregivers, subservient, not to have minds of their own, to make up stories of their own. They could be teachers and they could tell nice stories about nice endings and religious stories, but they weren't supposed to compose things like this at all.
Did she have any
Women,
go ahead.
sorry, let me give this to you. She says women often hid behind male pen names. There were secret societies of female writers, and she was a part of one.
Was she a part of them in 19 or a part of them is because she made them later on in her life?
Were you a part of it at 19? A secret society for female writers? She was a part of it, and they would meet at her home.
I wondered how the legacy of her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, who died shortly after her birth, but was a famous feminist of the time, shaped her views as a writer and her views on women's rights.
How did your mother, like, how did that contract with your mother that she was so mysterious? I don't feel what she's telling me is that there was nobody would really tell her about her mother too much. She would have to find out for herself. Nobody wanted to talk about her. It was all so tragic. And also, they didn't want to burden Mary Shelley with, the trauma of, well, it's your fault, your mom's dead, or make her feel bad about herself. So everything was very quiet. She grew up in a very quiet household
Yes, her
where,
father would never like loud noises and would always yell at the children to be quiet.
oh, really? I did
Mm-hmm.
not know that. So that's what she's saying. Like, and nobody really communicated. You had to make up stories in your own head, entertain yourselves. You had to play by yourself. It wasn't a very warm and friendly household. It was very cold. And in fact, it was very chilly. Um, you weren't supposed to ask questions.
What was her hope for societal change in her writings as Mary Shelley in her lifetime?
What was the hope for societal change? That women would be accepted as writers. She didn't know that the Frankenstein book was going to be so sensational, such a hit.
Pretty big hit.
Um, hmm.
Pretty big hit.
Yeah, it was astonishing to her, amazing. And that's when she decided to disclose herself eventually.
So, what was her first apprehension about it, and what changed her mind, deciding to make herself public?
What was it that changed your mind? Deciding to make yourself. That she was a winner, that the shock of it all, that a female had written a book such as Frankenstein. It was the shock factor. She likes that. She likes the shock factor, the fear factor, and that they'd all find themselves so ridiculous and laugh at themselves that they read this sensational book that was written by a female and how pathetic they actually were.
So was the monster originally a metaphor for you, for your mother, for your father, for your psyche,
It's the monster.
or something else?
Where did you come up with the monster? That was in her head, but where? Was it a metaphor? Yes. Why? What was it? Was the metaphor of the house. The house was creepy. It was monstrous. It was dark. It was dank. And I feel like they would get lost in this house and it would really scare them. It was spine tingling, she says, but it was perfect. And it was the perfect recipe to create Frankenstein. It was always something like that was lurking in the dark. She was terrified of him, but at the same time, very curious.
Is she talking about her father?
No, talking about her imagination.
Okay. Is it a cautionary tale, like a warning to future generations about animation, or what was her themes that she was most interested in conveying?
What were the themes that you were most interested in conveying? That you never really know someone and what goes on behind closed doors. What you think is going on may not actually be the truth. The shock factor. Real life can be scarier than the truth.
How does she think? How close does she think that we are now to achieving that type of reanimation?
Do you think we are now to achieving that reanimation? With the DNA cloning and the manipulation, it's possible.
Does Frankenstein himself have like a consciousness, even though he's a thought form? And does she ever engaged in any conversations with him?
She says, "I will through you, Liz." And I'm like, okay, so that's a good question. So our souls that have crossed over, are they allowed to engage with thought forms? No, they can only really communicate with other souls telepathically. So I'm going to do the talking for her.
Has she ever engaged in any conversations after crossing over with Frankenstein?
Have you ever engaged in any conversations after crossing over with Frankenstein? Not directly. It was more a thank you for that experience.
How much energy, how much energy momentum does the thought form of Frankenstein have now with all the adaptations that have been made, still talked about 220, 210 years later?
It's a big energy, it's a big consciousness. And I feel like they're even working on a new version.
Is it like a bright energy or a dark energy, or what? Tell us what it conveys itself to you as. And
Is it a bright energy, dark energy? It's sort of foggy. It's like a black mist, fog, mysterious. It's fun though. It's a little playful. Um, some people actually worship Frankenstein.
well, it's Halloween, and I've seen a lot of him out here. He's in the yard of a lot of my neighbors here. I wanted to ask Frankenstein how he challenges our understanding of what it means to be human.
About mind control of what our
What does he
challenges
mean
of
by
what
that?
it means to be human. That we're easily controlled. It's actually laughable how easily we are built by societal propaganda. We're told
It's
what to
amused by
think,
that
what to
now.
eat. Are you amused by that now? No, because it's no longer playful. It's become too serious. You can't even make things like Frankenstein anymore, he says. Or the consciousness of Frankenstein. Why can't you? Because it's incorrect. You know, somebody will label it as you're making fun of somebody with a disability, or, we're not accepting, body positivity. They won't see the comical element in it. They won't see the fear factor. We've become way too serious.
What has Frankenstein been doing, and how does it compare to the size of other fictitious characters? I mean, because it's still given so much weight, it's still given so much attention. And I always say when we turn our attention to something, whether it's remote viewing, whether it's a thought form, whether it's an egregore, we're giving it power. So, how does Frankenstein, the entity, the consciousness, differ from other literary entities, in his own opinion?
Frankenstein will not die out ever. This will go on for centuries and even spanning over 1,000 years. And when we get past like 1,000 years, a lot of this history will be lost. I mean, eventually, this history will be lost, and then it'll become like folklore and myth and legend. It is legendary now, Frankenstein is telling me. Um, but it will become even more so prevalent.
So, where does
These,
the end? Go ahead.
sorry, these types of stories will be things of the past when humans used to be creative. They used to write and think for themselves.
What frequency or dimension does the entity of Frankenstein live on versus the entity of Mary Shelley's discarnate soul?
What frequency? Where are you? Are you in the atmosphere? Closer to the earth plane. So what frequency? It matches the frequency of the humans that think or feed it. So it has a pretty low lying energy, as opposed to Mary Shelley, who has quite a high vibrational energy, high frequency. Obviously, she's in spirit. This is more of a human frequency.
Is or will there be an opportunity for Frankenstein to incarnate in a human body in the future?
Ooh, creepy. Um, will there be? That's really like creepy, right? Will you ever occupy a human body in the future? No. Will you occupy the body of a robot in the future? No. Good question.
Is there a pathway for the consciousness of Frankenstein to get a soul?
Oh my God. Like, well done with these questions, by the way. Mr. Reality does have a tip jar in the comments. I'm sorry, I had to put that out there. Are you on the pathway to having a soul? No, that's a privilege, and you won't be given that. No, he won't be given that privilege. That's a privilege reserved for reincarnation souls. He doesn't possess a soul. So can you not possess a soul whatsoever? No. Can you attach yourself to a soul? Yes. Are you going to do that? No, no, because that's dark and it doesn't want to be seen in that way.
Right, Frankenstein's a good monster, a nice happy monster. What does he think about the level of enthusiasm for him, particularly around this time of year?
Ooh, what do you think about the level of enthusiasm for you this time? Loves it, revels in it. It keeps the consciousness alive.
What is he most amused by about this interest in him? any time of the year or around this time?
What are you most amused by? That humans want to be me when they really, around this time of year, but they really don't want to be me at all. They want to be the opposite of me. They want to be beautiful, projected, noticeable beings. They are hyper focused on their flaws, their bodies, their demeanor, their color, their aesthetic, the aesthetic impact of what is around them, how they're perceived. And yet, around this time of year, they want to break all of that down. And it's almost like what Frankenstein is saying is we give ourselves permission to be this, right? We get to have fun with it. But the reality is, if we really looked like this, we would have a life of misery.
Does Mary Shelley have any questions she would like to ask of the literary character she created, Frankenstein?
Ooh, do you want to ask any? Yeah, well, she's just so grateful. And she wants to have Frankenstein manifest itself and connect to her again in the next lifetime. Will you be a writer in the next lifetime? Oh, she's going to be a singer. Okay, so will you be able to survive and be a singer? Like, well, or will you spend most of your time working? No. So she's going to be well-to-do again. She's going to be a singer. And I'm saying, but how do you want Frankenstein to come forward and help you? It's about the idea. So going forward in her future lifetime, she would like for the energy of Frankenstein, which was so, wonderful for her in the lifetime as Mary Shelley, to manifest in itself into a completely different energy where she can be creative and make songs, write songs. But even she's saying songwriting is going to be a thing of the past. So that's why it's really important to publish as many works as we can, writing, songs, songwriting, artwork, because going forward into the future, are we going to it's going to be non-existent. It's going to be non-existent in the future. But I'm saying, but you don't need Frankenstein to manifest itself. And by the way, it's not going to. She's like, I'm aware of that. You can create something else. You just need to make sure that you weave that creative energy into your soul contracts or your life plan for the next lifetime. She says, yes, I will do that. But I
But
want it to be
questions for
successful.
Frankenstein. Have you any of those? This is a bridge for you to ask Frankenstein anything you've ever wondered.
Thing you've ever wondered? Well, the first question she comes up with is Frankenstein really a part of her? As in, was it a demon or was it something within her, even maybe a past life existence, that has come forward into the consciousness of Mary Shelley? And Frankenstein is telling her, no, no, this is something, this is like a childhood ideology.
Thank you. Good question. Next question, Mary. This is fun. I've never done this.
What, have a soul
Taking
speak
a
to an
back seat as the
entity?
interviewer. I'm handing it over to Mary Shelley.
It is interesting. I don't think we have done this before. We have a soul ask an entity questions. The next question is, was he, Frankenstein, part of Percy? Yes, is the answer. Her husband, he was difficult.
Very difficult. Yes. And in fact, that's a great way to stop because we have more questions for Percy Shelley and more questions for Mary Shelley. And we're going to have to get to that next time. I'm so sorry to do this to you, but we're going to have to stick a pin and then we're going to bring everybody back. And we've got more questions for Percy and some other people. But we're going to have to do that next time because we're running out of time, Liz.
I know we are out of time. So many readings, so little time, so many remote viewing
Well,
courses,
I've
so
got a
little
class to
time.
teach. I got to go get ready for the class. So if you're not a member of my Patreon, you can look me up over there. You can follow me on YouTube. You can follow me on Ko-Fi. But I also want you to encourage you to go to Liz's backup channel. It's over here, Consciousness Transformation Technique. I meet with Liz every Monday, and she's thankful. I'm thankful she's with me to do this Monday morning meditation with people. You can listen to those meditations free. The Consciousness Transformation Technique here. It's youtube.com at Consciousness Transformation, but we couldn't fit the N, 765. And I want you to go over there and make sure each of you like, share, subscribe to that because that's the backup place. If we ever get booted, Liz, we're gonna have to, go over here.
Well, it's a miracle we haven't been booted already. To be honest, the stuff we do. Oh my goodness, we're still here. We're still here. But that's right. This is the backup channel and it's also free energy healing. I'm really shocked by the lack of subscribers over there. You guys need to discover it. Why go pay, hundreds and thousands of dollars
Yeah,
for,
80 hours of videos over there. Like at
yeah,
least, and probably more than that, because some of them are longer than an hour. But
yeah. 80 hours of free energy healing. So yeah, there you go. And thanks for being here, Mr. Reality. This is awesome.
oh,
I
thank
can't
you.
wait
It was a
for part
great time.
two.
And Percy, Mary Shelley, Frankenstein, thank you all so much. We're going to talk to you guys again. So look out for that.
Creepy.